And welcome in to another edition of the PHNX D-Backs podcast right here on PHNX. My name is Derek Montilla, occasionally known as your mayor of Arlington, Texas. This man next to me, of course, is my vice mayor, your thunderstick, and a man who is going to be very sick of me by the end of this trip. It's the one and only Jesse Friedman. And boy, what a win we just watched for the Arizona Diamondbacks to basically bust out the whooping stick tonight on the Toronto Blue Jays, securing this victory 12-1, which I lost count after a while, obviously. They just kept scoring. Corbin Carroll kept hitting home runs. It was an amazing night for this team. It was Star Wars night. I'm very sad to not be there for that because everybody knows how much I love Star Wars night. But if there was one reason to miss Star Wars night, it is to be right here in Arlington with you, sir, to cover All-Star Weekend festivities, which I'm very excited to cover. But yes, I'm also very excited to talk about this win because the Diamondbacks have had quite the roll lately. They are 10-4 in their last 14 games. They have not lost a series in the month of July yet, and they secure the series win over the Toronto Blue Jays with tonight's victory. They also secure that they will go into the All-Star break with a record above 500, and that is huge for this team considering how long it took them to get back to this point.
It really is. Yeah, I mean, we definitely talked about it a lot yesterday. The D-backs, every time they got to 500, it felt like they not only would lose, but then they would lose like several games, lose 4 out of 5 or something, and then they'd
let
have
it slip right away.
Yeah, they'd have to kind of dig their way out of that hole again. And here the D-backs win, back-to-back games, and this one in emphatic fashion, a 12-1 victory. Of course, Yilber Diaz gets the start for the Diamondbacks in this game, pitched really, really well in his second big league start. Pretty much duplicated exactly what he did in his first big league start with 6 innings of 1-run ball. So really good stuff from him, good stuff from the offense across the board. This game was close-ish for the first few innings, and then the Diamondbacks just sort of dominated toward the end of this one, as you said. So this team is rolling right now, Derek. They're doing the thing. They're doing exactly what I think Mike Hazen was hoping that they would do this month. And obviously the trade deadline is still a couple weeks away. We'll see what happens between now and then. But as of right now, you sure got to believe the Diamondbacks are in position to buy.
They are playing like a team that has their back against the wall, but they're also playing like a team now that is no longer scared, right? It felt like when we saw their lack of offense this season, it was about apprehension. They just looked tentative at the plate. And now we're seeing them be much more aggressive, and we're seeing those results. We're also seeing Corbin Carroll go out on a night like tonight and hit 2 home runs, and you can't help but feel like Corbin Carroll is back. I know we say that a lot on this very podcast, but you also have to feel very good about what Yilber Diaz has given this team in his 2 starts. He wasn't quite as sharp in this start as he was in his first one, where he absolutely deserved the win in his first one, but he does deserve the win tonight, and he gets that win, only allowing 1 earned run out there. I mean, it was another impressive night, and even though he didn't have his best stuff, he threw. He was outside of the strike zone quite a bit, but he found a way to still get back on track. And there's something about Diaz that already has that veteran presence, I guess you could say, that ability to kind of like figure it out when he doesn't have his best stuff and still be very effective on a night like this.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote a story, a pretty in-depth piece on Yilber Diaz earlier today. I know I wasn't the only one. There were D-backs, I think, also from their social account released like a 5-minute video kind of documenting his background.
It was a race to basically be the first one to have a script adapted by their article or story for sure, because that man's life is a movie, and you did a great job writing that article, better than everybody else's. I'm just going to say it because I know you won't. But, I mean, it is a fascinating story, and of course,
it really is.
It's also the fact that he is here now at this big league level doing it in a way where he does look as I mean, he looks like he's been here for a long time. You know, that's one thing that when we talk about a lot of the young players the Diamondbacks have had come up and try to essentially help them out, fill this role, fill that starting rotation out, they haven't looked sharp. Not nearly as sharp as they have at a AAA level or other levels. Yilber Diaz was pitching for the Sod Poodles a cup of coffee ago. You know what I mean?
Not very long
he
ago.
was not very long ago. He was in AA, and this man came up. He kind of was the talk of Reno for his brief time there, and now at a major league level, he is performing incredibly well for this team. And, I mean, the offense, we're going to talk about that, and we're very much going to talk a lot about Corbin Carroll hitting 2 home runs. But the offense didn't even need to do what it did tonight because Yilber Diaz was so outstanding.
100%. Yeah, I mean, you can just tell there's a level of confidence there. There's just a level of a kind of calmness in some of the bigger moments of these games where it appears that Yilber Diaz is completely unfazed by anything that he's encountering at the big league level. And based on his background, you can understand why. I mean, everything that Diaz has gone through to get to this point, it really is just an unbelievable story of perseverance and him getting here. He tried to pitch in Venezuela. He tried to sign as an international amateur when he was 16 or 17. He got hurt. He gave up on baseball. He moved to various other Latin American countries in kind of hopes of a better life, trying to kind of start a new life outside of baseball. That was tricky for him, and for a lot of different reasons. You should go check out the story for sure. But eventually, he found his way back into the game. And I mean, you mentioned that just a month or two ago, he was in AA. I mean, a little bit less than 3 years ago, he was in the Dominican Summer League. He was playing rookie ball, and he wasn't good. I mean, if you go back and look at his rookie league numbers from that season in the Dominican Summer League, I think it was an ERA of around 6. It was more walks than strikeouts. He really struggled in his time there, but he started to put it together toward the end. And the last couple years, he's progressed really rapidly. So he's the kind of guy where he's just been through so much that it seems like, pitching in the big leagues is just kind of another obstacle for him to find his way across.
And it feels like he is figuring it out so far. Though we did say tonight his command was not as sharp as it was in his first start. What was working for him particularly well tonight?
Yeah, I think Yilber has shown pretty good fastball command overall. Pretty good for a pitcher at his age in particular, and especially a guy who came with a reputation of being a little bit more erratic, being a guy that you might want to use out of the bullpen because his command isn't really there. I think there was a lot of that today. There were, it was a good amount of weak contact in this game. Fastballs that Blue Jays hitters just sort of got underneath of and couldn't really do a whole lot with. Fastballs on, the lower outside edge or whatever it was to induce a ground ball. So the fastball command, I think, worked really well for him. That's where he got the vast majority of his outs. The slider was interesting for him today. He had 5 whiffs on the pitch and 8 swings, which is pretty impressive. I mean, 5 out of 8 is above 60% whiff rate. But I also thought that his slider command maybe wasn't quite as sharp as what we saw in his last outing. If we pull up the diagram, the fancy diagram of all of the sliders that Diaz threw in this game, for him moving forward is making sure that he doesn't get too fastball dependent, but it still worked today. He still was able to get some swings and misses on that pitch when he was putting it in good spots. And like I said, if you can command a fastball that's 96, 97 miles an hour, you can get a lot of outs just with that.
Yes, apparently the scene muted while we were in the
we
middle
are scrambling in the
of
middle of UT Arlington's campus right now. I have fixed the issue.
We appreciate it, Jacob. Jacob did a wonderful job tonight getting us set up here by the way, I did not even get a chance to introduce where we are at, but we are at the beautiful Tipsy Oak here in Arlington, Texas, and we thank them immensely.
Yes, that's a free ad, Max.
Oh, God, yes. They get all the free ads because
it wasn't really free. I mean, we are.
We took over their bar a little bit.
Yeah,
and
they're helping us out.
Very
quite
welcoming. They have yelled "Go Rangers" at me quite a few times, and I've taken it on the chin like a champ. In fact, but speaking of taking it on the chin, the Blue Jays definitely did that tonight from this offense because holy crap, Jesse! Even though Yilber Diaz definitely kept their offense off the board for the most part. Tonight, the Diamondbacks just got contributions all over the place. Home runs were flying out of the ballpark. Corbin Carroll, as you see here in the comments, 40% of his home runs this season were hit in tonight's baseball game. This has just been...
What did I say, Derek?
Oh, my God.
What did I say?
Jacob's over here just casually...
tonight.
Jacob's just casually saying, if he hits a home run right here, he'll be at 30 RBI before the All-Star break. Boom, home run. He's like, if he hits one here, he'll be at 32.
See, but technically that's not a prediction. That's just Jacob stating a fact.
Yeah, it's the way he gets... No, it's the way he gets
into the universe.
But it's the way he gets away with it. You're right. Yeah, he gets away. He sneaks away with it that way by... if it doesn't work out...
Because if you're wrong,
then
nobody knows. But if you're right, everybody's like, oh, my God, you were just talking about it.
You're such a genius.
That's the best way to go about that.
Shout out to Dirt Bike Boy 714, by the way, for your super chat. He said, loved watching tonight live. I hope Diaz earns a spot in the rotation for the rest of the year. And I guess, before we get on to the offense, that's one problem the Diamondbacks are going to have. I guess a good problem. For the most part, nobody should be surprised to see Yilber Diaz sent back down, and it'll have nothing to do with his performance. It's not based on performance. But, I'm sure there's going to be some people that will be mad when they see that happen, even if it's for a short period of time, because if anybody that replaces him in the starting rotation isn't giving you what he's giving you, then we're going to want Yilber back.
Yeah, it's hard to beat 6 innings, 1 run 2 times out, right? That's it. You'll win a whole lot of baseball games if you get 6 innings, 1 run every time from a particular starting pitcher. So yeah, the D-backs already sent out Slade Ciccone, so Jordan Montgomery is the starting pitcher that we expect to see back from injury the soonest, and it appears that Montgomery could just slide right into Ciccone's spot in the rotation. So I don't think that immediately after the All-Star break we're having a conversation of Yilber Diaz going down to Reno just because the D-backs have a full rotation again. It's going to be a while for Merrill Kelly. It's going to be a while for Eduardo Rodriguez. I still think you're probably looking early, maybe mid-August, maybe even to the later parts of August. We'll kind of see how that develops. So. Right. The D-backs have opportunity right now. This is not a rotation that is too full right now, and has too many guys performing to make room for Yilber Diaz.
That's very fair. Well, again, I guess you could say Yilber Diaz didn't need what the offense did, and the offense, I guess, didn't need Yilber Diaz to be as good as he was tonight because the offense puts up 12 runs against the Toronto Blue Jays. Like you said, they went up by 5 early. They had the 1-run lead early. The Toronto Blue Jays tied the game in the top of the second. Diamondbacks get it right back in the bottom of the inning, and then they put 2 more on in the 4th. That seemed like a good night at the office for this team at that point.
Yeah.
But, man, they kind of just blew up there in the 7th and the 8th. Corbin Carroll has those 2 home runs, 1 in the 7th, 1 in the 8th inning. You got Geno Suarez adding on in the 8th inning as well. And again, just late, this team stayed in attack mode, and it's good to see because not only is it one of their blowout victories that we haven't seen in a while, right? It's encouraging to see that, but it's also good to see this team be able to just, again, here as we get to the All-Star break, not kind of, I guess limp into the end of a game that they have a lead. Like they stayed aggressive and they kept scoring runs.
Yeah, there's something to be said about just kind of dominating a game every once in a while. And the D-backs have done that at times, especially early in the season. It felt like every time they won, it was 17-1 or something ridiculous like that. We have seen games like this for sure this year where the D-backs have a decent-sized lead, and then they just sort of inexplicably and unnecessarily score like 10 extra runs at the end of the game that they didn't really need. The whole save it for tomorrow narratives apply for sure. But
you could also say, like, get on a roll, like get locked in. And I mean,
100%.
I don't know which way. I don't know which way is more effective.
Yeah, run. I can't say that run like score. The D-backs didn't score too many runs today. Like that.
No.
That would feel like an outrageous take.
Yes.
So, yeah. I mean, just being able to dominate, being able to. The Blue Jays are not playing very good baseball as of right now. They obviously haven't had a very good season. This is a team that on paper the Diamondbacks are better than, and they have looked like the better team by a pretty wide margin here through the first 2 games of the series.
Jose Herrera was 3 for 4 tonight with a walk.
He was, yeah.
2 runs scored and an RBI himself. Corbin Carroll 2 for 4 with those 2 home runs, 6 RBI tonight for Corbin Carroll. He had a walk and a sac fly. Ketel Marte was 2 for 3 with 2 walks, an RBI, and a run scored. And then Geno was 2 for 5 with a home run. Put some respect on Geno's name because Geno Suarez now has a 661 OPS. And I mean, it's slowly getting back there. But if you take a look at Geno's numbers specifically in the month of July, they're very, very good. And that's baseball, right? Like, who cares about what he did in the past right now when he's hitting the way he is lately? And if he can continue to stay at least close to this, I mean, Geno will be very valuable to this team the rest of the year, and you'll basically get out of him what you thought you were going to get. The totals aren't going to be great for some of these guys. Corbin Carroll's not going to get back to having numbers at the end of the season that blow you away. He just had too slow of a start. It doesn't mean that these guys can't return to form and get back to being the productive players that they were last season, and that, in the case of Geno, that the Diamondbacks went out and acquired him for, right?
Yeah, I mean, Geno, after the home run in this game, his WRC plus is up to 88, 100, of course, being league average. 88's not good, but it's also not terrible, right?
Yeah.
Like, Geno provides some defensive value for this team for sure at third base. He's arguably the only true third baseman on the roster. So he's giving you value on that side of the ball. And yeah, I mean, he had a 102 WRC plus for the Mariners last year. And we were looking at some projections for him for this season, and they weren't pretty, right? They were projecting him to be a below-average hitter, and he certainly has been that. But at this point, you're looking at Geno just kind of falling in line with those projections, more or less, as opposed to being like this all-out disaster that I think some people perceived him to be a few weeks ago. So obviously, the 2-run homer tonight didn't necessarily mean a ton. It took a 10-1 game and made it a 12-1 game, but he also has had some very timely hits for this team here in this last week or so as well.
We could talk about the bullpen, but do we need to? Who cares?
Not really.
They weren't needed. I mean, Miguel Castro did return. He made his first appearance since returning from the IL, right? He hit a batter. He pitched 1 inning, gave up 1 hit, 1 strikeout. But, yeah, I mean, at that point, the Diamondbacks bullpen didn't need to do much. They just didn't need to completely implode.
If Torey Lovello had put you in with a 12-1 lead in the 9th inning, you think you're able to pull this out for the team?
Yes. Yeah. I'm not throwing anything that they can hit, right? But they're going to be tempted because it's going to be a 45-mile-per-hour, meatball down the middle. I don't even know if I can throw it that slow and get it across home plate, but it's going to be a very slow pitch, and they're going to be tempted to hit it, but it's not going to have the power back that a pitch is required for them. Right. So it's just going to be a lot of fly outs and soft ground outs, I think. I'll get through.
Yeah, just pitch
once
soft
I get
contact,
that first out, they're just going to be furious, and they're going to really want to be like sticking it to me because they're going to be like, we can't let this guy show us up, that kind of thing. But I mean, tonight it felt like that. It felt like the bullpen, you could put anybody out there, and they weren't going to give up any runs for this team tonight against
nights like this. You wish you had Pavin Smith out of the pen.
I mean, why not? Why not? You're just giving Don's Bread more reason to yell at us in the Discord about Pavin Smith not being up, as if we have any control over that. But, of course, what we do have control over, I guess, is once again you guys being here. I mean, I guess we don't have control over that, but we do have control over thanking you guys for being here. This has been an incredible journey for us. We're both very, very tired, and Jacob might be even more tired than Jesse and I. But I don't know. Jesse didn't sleep last night, so I'm telling on him.
I don't
on
think
the
Jacob
show.
really ever sleeps, partially because of the job that he has at PHNX and partially because he has a small child at home.
That's true.
Do deal with you on a daily basis, Jesse?
That's also another small child. That's true. I'm just very tired in general all the time, and I don't get enough sleep, even though I get plenty of sleep. But we do thank you guys so much for being here. We can't wait to tell you guys more about all that we got to see today out at the Futures game. and of course Jacob and I frolicking around the All-Star Village. We had ourselves.
What did we do today for work, Derek? Like, what even is our job?
We ate Korean chicken sandwiches that were very, very.
They were
good.
yummy.
They were very, very good from the Atlanta Braves ballpark. And we have more on that, but. Of course, we thank you guys so much for being here right now. We thank you so much if you are already subscribed to the PHNX Sports YouTube channel. If you haven't done so, do so now. Sign up for notifications. That way you don't miss whenever we go live, because sometimes we keep hours like this. Also, drop us a like. We love when you drop us that like. Of course, if you're listening on the audio podcasting side, make sure you leave us, you subscribe first on your favorite audio podcasting app, even if you watch us live. Just subscribe over there anyway, still download it. Maybe you can listen to it sometimes just when you miss us, and then leave us a review. We appreciate those reviews quite a bit. Those 5-star reviews help us out a ton. Of course, Jacob's putting his thumb in front of the camera, and sometimes you got to consider whether or not you need to replace a producer. If you did hypothetically need to replace a producer, Indeed.com would be a great place to do so. I've threatened Damon with this several times, so I feel like it's about time I threatened Jacob, considering we're going to be on this 9-day road trip together. But Indeed.com is driven driven by the search for better, right? And when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. It's to match with Indeed, because Indeed will help you match to a candidate that's qualified, and it will help you get those positions filled faster. That's the big thing about Indeed.com. Ditch the busy work. You can use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging, so you can connect with candidates faster and you can hire candidates faster. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. So listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/AllCity. Just go to Indeed.com/AllCity right now and support this show by saying you heard about us, about Indeed, on this podcast right here on the D-Backs podcast. That's Indeed.com/AllCity. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. Well, we are here once again in Arlington, Texas, and we do not have access to our wonderful Four Peaks beers. Definitely don't have access to the wonderful Four Peaks chicken tendies right now. But, of course, that will be the first thing I guzzle when we return to Phoenix. And, of course, if you are there, you should get yourself some wonderful Four Peaks wherever you get your beers at. Get them in grocery stores or tap lines around the valley. Make sure to try out our Bad Birdie Juicy Golden Ale that we love so much. It's a collaboration between Four Peaks and Bad Birdie. Super drinkable, the perfect companion at the tee box or in your fridge. You can visit fourpeaks.com/locator to find all your favorite beers and events. Check out at Four Peaks Brew or at Four Peaks Pub to keep up with the latest at Arizona's hometown brewery. Must be 21 or older to drink Four Peaks, and please drink responsibly. Well, let's take a look at the count from tonight's game, because this is going to be a whole lot of fun. This is presented by our friends at Desert Financial Credit Union. And these numbers, I like these numbers, Jesse. These numbers are fun to look at. Diamondbacks outscored the Toronto Blue Jays by a count of 12-1. They out-hit the Blue Jays 15-5. Blue Jays were 0 for 3 with runners in scoring position, where the D-backs were 4 for 15. And, yeah, I mean, this was a thorough whooping tonight.
Yeah, it absolutely was. Didn't have a ton to add to that.
No?
Yeah,
I mean, we've kind of just
12-1 baseball game. So
we beat it up just like they beat up the Blue Jays for sure. But I mean, facts are facts, and tonight's game was one of those nights where the Diamondbacks, they did the thing. They did the thing. They look good. They won a lot of series leading up to this. There has been some pretty big wins, some pretty thorough victories, but tonight, probably one of the biggest, especially with someone like Yilber Diaz on the mound for this team.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to point out that Jose Barrios is like a pretty decent starting pitcher, right? Like, yeah. This is not, this wasn't a terrible start that the Diamondbacks were able to get to today. Like, Barrios has had a pretty good season. I know I talked with Zach Warden in our episode of On the Record before the series started about Barrios' strikeout numbers being down a little bit this season, and how that maybe suggested that maybe a sub-4 ERA, an ERA in the mid-3s was going to be unsustainable for him. I guess that sort of bared itself out tonight, given that Barrios did not have a strikeout and he was not particularly effective in this game. But he's still a veteran pitcher who's been one of the better guys in the league for a long time. Yeah. never maybe been like quite that ace that at times it looked like he could be going back to his early days in Minnesota. But Berrios is a formidable starting pitcher for sure, and the Diamondbacks were able to run up his pitch count early. That's something we've seen from this offense a lot in recent days, and just keep putting it on him. I mean, even in, I think it was the third inning, the D-backs didn't actually score, but they still had first and second with nobody out. Berrios was able to work out of that jam. So we're getting to the point where it feels like the Diamondbacks offense is probably going to get to just about every starting pitcher they face. It's just a matter of, does it happen in the first or second inning like today, or does it take a few innings for them to kind of figure out a guy? But we're not really seeing opposing starting pitchers have much of any success right now against this Diamondbacks lineup.
Especially early. The Diamondbacks have continued to be able to put up runs early in these ball games, and I think that that's just a key lately to seeing the pitchers that they have kind of settle in. We've seen this with Ryan Nelson out of his last few starts. We've seen this out of Yilber Diaz. I mean, the Diamondbacks are just able to kind of go out there and give their pitchers some run support, and it's I guess it's reflecting in the results, right? Unfortunately, we've had a few losses there that we all remember that will be seared into our brains forever, where they did have a lead and things didn't go our way late. But tonight's game, it was a little bit hard to decide on a king snake. Obviously, with Corbin Carroll hitting 2 home runs, that's such a big night for Corbin, and we have been waiting for a breakout night like this from him power-wise. However, it's kind of an interesting debate when you think about it, because what is more important here, the runs or the outing from Yilber Diaz? And it just really feels like, considering that this was 2 in a row, Yilber Diaz is our king snake for tonight, because, again, the Diamondbacks really just need to give him 2 runs of support in order to get through tonight's outing and to get, to secure the victory. A little easier when you're putting up more runs to do what they did. Still, like, an impressive night from Yilber Diaz. And I mean, credit to the bullpen that Torey called upon to continue to keep this game, or to keep their end of it scoreless.
Yeah, Diaz was, again, I mean, he was really effective in this game for the Diamondbacks, and this, of course, being his first career win, it wouldn't have felt right to give the king snake to somebody else, given that his first career win. That's a pretty monumental occasion, and as we discussed before, it probably should have come in his last start. That game didn't end so well for the Diamondbacks. It was a real backbreaker in that opener against the Atlanta Braves. But, you think about this rotation moving forward. Again, we continue to have this picture in our minds of what the fully healthy Diamondback starting rotation looks like. It still feels far away, and it still is fairly far away, I think, if we're being honest. But, Zach Gallen and Merrill Kelly and Eduardo Rodriguez and Brandon Pfaadt, Jordan Montgomery, maybe he looks better when he comes back, and Yilber Diaz also kind of factors in there as a weapon that you feel pretty good about. And I haven't mentioned Ryan Nelson, who has really come on strong here his last few times out and started to be a consistent weapon for this team as well. So the Diamondbacks starting pitching, I mean, that's really been the biggest reason in my mind why they haven't been able to take off consistently at any point this year. It's tough to do that when you're so consistently getting 3 2/3, 4 2/3 innings, 3-4 runs allowed on a nightly basis. It's hard to go on any kind of run when you're getting that every day. And in time and even in glimpses right now, you're seeing the tide kind of turn there for the rotation.
I want to address Corbin Barrel's comment in the chat. Corbin Barrel said, "Chat, remember when they used to interact with us? Those were the good old days. We would like to apologize. We have no return monitor right now, so we can't see any of your comments. We're trying to keep up with them on YouTube, but we're delayed, and that annoys Jesse, and I don't like looking at myself ever. So we'll try to do our best." But in taking a look at some of these comments in the chat, of course, great night as far as the patience. I saw, let's see here, someone was bringing up how patient, El Gallo, I think, was bringing up the patient at-bats. And, yeah, the Diamondbacks definitely had some patient at-bats tonight. It feels like that's been a big key lately as well.
Has.
Seeing Geno walk as often as he has, seeing just the contributions from guys. Also seeing them not go out there and try to do everything in one at-bat. We're getting a lot of games where there's a lot of hits by this team, a lot of singles, and that's fine. I mean, it's not as great as Corbin Carroll having the night he had, going out there and hitting 2 home runs, but it's just showing that this team is starting to click. It also shows they're starting to trust their teammates, that they can hand that baton off to the next guy, much like they did last year, and allow those teammates to drive them in. And I mean, again, tonight was one of those nights where this team worked in all ways. Everything was clicking for this team tonight.
I feel like we should revisit Jose Herrera for a second. I mean, I know.
Oh God, yes.
I know. I think he's had 19 at bats this season, so I probably shouldn't be going too crazy with the numbers at this point. But Jose Herrera is currently hitting .368 for the Diamondbacks with an .876 OPS and a .455 on base percentage. And of course, we talked about how DFAing Tucker Barnhart said a lot about the team's belief in Adrian Del Castillo. It also said something about the team's belief in Jose Herrera to be not only a productive defensive catcher, which is primarily why he's on the roster for sure, but maybe to do at least a little bit more offensively than Tucker Barnhart was able to do in that spot.
Yeah.
And so far, Herrera has very much delivered on that. I mean, 3 hits today, which I believe tied a career high. He was 1 for 3 a few days ago on July 10th. He was 1 for 2 with a double and a walk back on July 6th. So pretty much every time you start Jose Herrera right now, you're kind of expecting him to go, 1 for 3, 1 for 2. You get on base a couple of times and pass the baton on to the next guy. That's a really valuable thing for this team.
Well, Jesse, you know that Jacob is a known liar. We know he does not tell the truth.
Yeah, I'm not honest, Abe.
Yeah, we know that. That's for sure. But we do know that the numbers, they definitely do not lie. They never lie. So let's take a look at what you have for tonight's number that doesn't lie. What do you got for us?
Yeah, well, speaking of Diamondbacks hitters taking really patient at bats and just making good swing decisions and whatnot, Jose Barrios, Derek, the number is 0 because Jose Barrios did not have a whiff in this entire game. He threw 90 pitches against the Diamondbacks tonight.
What?
And he did not induce a single swing and miss in this entire baseball game. So, again, it just goes to show that the at-bat quality right now is really strong for the Diamondbacks. And as I said, Barrios is a respectable starting pitcher. He's a guy who can give you a quality start pretty consistently. And the Diamondbacks just didn't allow it. It just felt like it was really good at bat after really good at bat. The patience that was mentioned in the comments earlier. This is kind of the D-backs team that we've seen here over the last couple of weeks, and it's really translated into success for them. 0
swing and miss. That's incredible. That's incredible for this team, especially this team that we had quite a few guys. We had a few guys in the starting lineup that had a notorious problem with striking out this year. So for them to go through an outing from a starting pitcher of various quality, that's a pretty impressive night for this offense. And it just goes to show, like you said, they are being more patient. And, I mean, you can't argue with the results, not just against this team, because the Toronto Blue Jays have struggled this year. So this isn't a team that you necessarily need to, really pat yourselves on the back about beating like this. However, this is still a good baseball team, and this is still a good baseball team that can beat you on any given night. We've seen the Diamondbacks lose to teams that they absolutely should have beaten this year, and so this is just a really impressive way, once again, like we said earlier, to secure the fact that they will have an above 500 record now, win or lose on Sunday, going into the All-Star break, and that's just incredibly important for this team.
It really is, yeah, and we've been keeping track of this for a while. I'll say it again after another one tonight. 14 of the last 15 Diamondbacks games, Derek, this team has had a lead in the 8th inning or later. There have been some games that have slipped away in that stretch, as we've said time and time again. But that's just a crazy fact in and of itself. If you've been watching a Diamondbacks game at any point over the last 2.5 weeks now, you are seeing a team that is in position to win basically every single day. That is what it has been here over the last 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks for this baseball team. The only exception was the Tuesday game against the Atlanta Braves, where the D-backs just sort of got beat from start to finish. That was the outlier. But outside of that, the D-backs are either winning or they're losing in very devastating fashion, and I know that comes with its share of heartache as well. But it just goes to show that this team really seems to have turned a corner, and they're just, when you turn on a D-backs game, you're expecting them to
be in it.
I was almost going to say you expect them to win, which I guess maybe we're kind of getting to that point too, where when you watch the Diamondbacks right now, given the success that they've had recently, you're just kind of expecting the team to do what it's done here over the last couple of weeks.
People forgot they were good. They made the World Series last year, and they added pieces to this team.
Okay,
and then everybody was like, well, actually, no, they weren't supposed to make the World Series last year. They're kind of bad.
Let's calm down. This team was bad, and it was the guys. It's not like some big mystery where it was these guys that like have now been completely swapped out.
But were they bad or cold, Derek?
They were cold. They were bad. They were bad as a team.
They were injured.
They were very injured. You had
And
Ketel
they are
Marte kind of doing it by himself. But again, we talked yesterday about Alek Thomas and Geraldo Perdomo returning into this lineup, and you can't really explain it. You can't, because again, neither one of these guys has an 850 OPS. These guys aren't the saviors of the offense that have returned and are smacking dingers left and right, and you're like, oh my God, I'm so glad those guys are back. Yet you still find yourself saying, oh my God, I'm so glad those guys are back at times. And Perdomo and Thomas both just provide a big boost to this team that very much needed it. Maybe that was it. Maybe it was the fact that they had lost so many pieces. Maybe things were just getting bleak for this team, and maybe it was hard mentally for them to kind of overcome the thought of how many pieces they lost. It's frustrating to go out and add to an already good baseball team some pretty damn good players and have things not work out for you, especially in the fashion that they didn't work out for the Diamondbacks in the month of May and April. Those were bad times, but luckily, they've been playing some better baseball, and we knew that it had to come from these guys that were already on this team. It wasn't going to come from some magical other source. Yet, somehow, it seems like Perdomo and Thomas, again, even though their numbers aren't great, still provide an incredible lift to this team that's kind of, when you trace it back to when they started playing good baseball again, it kind of gets traced back to Geraldo Perdomo's return.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's pretty fair. I don't have the record in front of me, but it's really good since Geraldo Perdomo rejoined the team. I'm sure Damon is
he's doing
shouting
backflips right now.
Yeah, he's shouting Perdomo's praises somewhere in the world.
He's shirtless right now, just running around his house screaming at the top of his lungs. And I'm here for it. But of course, we are here on the road. We miss Damon very much, but we are out here in these streets on the road, bringing you the best coverage we can bring you here. From Texas, from All-Star Weekend. Of course, a great place to stop when you're on the road is Circle K, because their snacks are incredible. They have everything you need for a road trip. And, of course, if you are part of the Inner Circle, or if not, it might be even better if you aren't yet, because if you join the Inner Circle for free right now by downloading the Circle K app, you can save 25 cents per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups. That's a lot of money. You can save. Gas is a little bit cheaper here in Texas. I'm a little jealous of that.
It's not that different, though, right?
No, it's just a little bit cheaper. Just enough to make me a little jealous. But, of course, gas for you can be cheaper if you join the Inner Circle for free right now. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for details. You also get all sorts of wonderful free coupons in the app, so make sure to join the Inner Circle today. Speaking of a secret club that you can join that will save you money and is really, really cool, you can join us over here at the secret club known as Shady Rays, because it is the best place to get your sunglasses. Not only do they have amazing styles that you will absolutely love and crystal clear optics, they will not cost you nearly the amount that other brands that are similar quality will cost you, not to mention the fact that they have the most insane protection plan in all of eyewear. If you lose or break your Shady Rays even on day one, they told us they will send you out a brand new pair, no questions asked. This man will ask you questions. He will ask you 20 questions. He will ask you, why did you break your sunglasses? How did you break your sunglasses? What makes you think that you can just return them for free? You take responsibility here. That's Jesse.
It doesn't seem right there.
He says it doesn't seem right. That's not Shady Rays won't do that to you. Shady Rays will just send you out a new pair of sunglasses. No guilt, no shame heaped upon you. And
I kind of wish I had mine right now, because this light that
this
we're
light's
looking
killing
at
me.
It's very bright.
Yeah, I mean, we look good on the YouTube. I'll tell you that much.
I've been staring at the
This
sun.
shot is
good.
crispy.
I know, this is crispy. And of
But
course,
I feel like I've been
and we're
staring
here
at the sun for the last 40
Tipsy
minutes.
Oak. Yeah, that's a little. I was trying to do a little Mega Ran rhyme, but he's the rapper. I'm not. But I will tell you, even he loves these sunglasses. And exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com and use code PHNX for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. And I need my sunglasses right now, not only because of how bright these lights are, but to cover up my eyes, because I am a very, very tired boy. I think all three of us here are very, very tired. That's the story so far. How are things going in Arlington? We're tired. We've been up since 4 o'clock in the morning. Some of us, others here, allegedly didn't even go to sleep last night. But we did fly in this morning very early to get here in time for the Futures game. Jesse went to the Futures game. We had a chance to go over to All-Star Village and kind of check out all of the wonderful stuff. It is a absolute amusement park for baseball fans, and I cannot believe how big All-Star Village is here in Arlington with all of the stuff to do. Jacob made me ride a Ferris wheel. I hate Ferris wheels. I hate heights. He still made me do it. Made me sick to my stomach. But we got to see the Futures game. We got to see Drew Jones start for the National League team. That was very exciting. We also saw Davison De Los Santos get in the game. Drew Jones walked a lot. What were your thoughts?
Yeah.
Is that pretty much your takeaway? He walked a lot.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, if you were watching the Futures game in the hopes that Drew Jones or Davison De Los Santos would have a truly electric moment, I'm not sure that you left this game being all that satisfied.
We didn't get it.
But yeah, Jones reached base in 3 out of his 4 plate appearances. He had an RBI. De Los Santos went over 2 with a strikeout. He did have an RBI as well. But yeah, nothing super notable, frankly, from the Futures game for me. We didn't, obviously. It's such a small sample of these guys. You're only going to be able to learn so much from a couple of at bats. I will say, just being up closer to Davison De Los Santos than I've ever been personally. This man is very large. He looks like
he's a big fella.
He looks like a man among boys on the field.
He does. He looks like one of those, like, oh hey, like my son's 13. You're like, that's obviously a 19-year-old man, sir. Like that's what it looks like.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty accurate assessment. He is. I think I read somewhere there's some scouting report out there that says that he's built like a linebacker, and I can confirm that is definitely what it looked like. He hit some homers in batting practice, was able to catch that. There's some video that we posted over to our Twitter account. Drew Jones was putting some good swings out there during BP as well. Jones, I will say, the one time where he didn't reach base, he lined out. That was a decent swing. There were a couple of whiffs in that at bat that did look a little concerning to me. Very much what we've been seeing from Jones, where he just kind of bails out of the box, and those swings did not look all that competitive in my mind, frankly. So I continue to not be so sure about Drew Jones moving forward, which I think is kind of the industry the industry perspective. I don't think I'm in my own little universe there.
He walked 3 times, Jesse.
He did.
What are we doing here?
Excuse me.
He had an RBI.
Yeah, he had an RBI walk. There it is. I get it on camera, and Derek turns to me and goes, "Calm down. It's just a walk."
Yeah, he was very excited about it. Yeah, I mean, I'm now feel like a hypocrite now that he outed me like that. But
he can work a good at bat, right? I mean, it's not like he has terrible numbers in Visalia or anything.
Sure.
Play good center field as well. They were doing some drills before the Futures game started, and one of them involved Drew Jones fielding a ball and kind of making an all-out throw to home plate, which is one of my favorite things to watch on a baseball diamond, because frankly we don't see any Drew Jones-esque arms at the big league level right now for the D-backs. It's a little bit rough in terms of the outfield arms that the team has right now. So he clearly has. I mean, the tools are certainly there. It's just a matter of mechanically kind of figuring out something that works and finding a way to be consistent with it. This narrative of Jones kind of bailing out of the box, and granted, it's only a couple of swings today, but that narrative has gone on for a while, and it's something that he's going to need to correct here at some point.
Well, we also got to see the inaugural Futures Skills Showcase, Jesse.
Yes.
And we talked to Jordan Schusterman about this. I told him what my idea was, and then he was like, "You idiot, just wait. That's exactly what they're doing." And boy, was it. It was exactly. I wanted Top Golf.
It really was. Yeah.
I wanted little circles with points.
Would you like a photo?
Yeah, let's throw the photo up there, because let's take a look. A minute to retract some of the negative things I've said about Globe Life Field, because it is a much nicer field indoors. than
Really?
it looks out from outdoors.
You want to retract some of the negative things you said? Because when I was back at Globe Life Field today, it just reminded me of all the things that I hated about it in the World Series. I was just like angry walking around this ballpark, like what a waste of money this giant, massive shed is. But no, it does have its nice characteristics. Unfortunately, the press box is not one of them.
Well, let me tell
Derek
you,
watched me almost chuck my camera from the third deck because the fireworks were so loud.
Yeah.
The fireworks are so loud.
Yeah.
It is probably twice as loud as what I'm used to hearing for fireworks in any other ballpark. And granted, it's an enclosed space, which I guess makes that a little bit different. But it's also very echoey. Like the PA announcer is loud, but you can't even tell what he's saying because it's just reverberating around the building.
I like their scoreboards. I like their
The
screens.
scoreboards are nice.
I like
yeah.
all of the natural light that comes in.
Yeah.
It's very reminiscent of Chase Field, only better. It feels like the things that they've improved upon are things that they could do to Chase Field that would make Chase Field much nicer. Obviously, having more standing room only space. They have a lot of standing room only space. It allowed me and Jacob, by the way, to use Game Time to get in the door for $6 to watch it. And
you guys got it for $6.
$6 was all it cost.
$6 a piece.
$6
$12.
a piece. $12.
Okay.
Oh, excuse me.
All right.
Excuse me. Jacob wouldn't even let me Venmo him because it was such a small amount of money to him. You know, that's
no, it's what I used to
rolls.
wipe my nose with.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like a tissue.
I get it.
I figured that was a little more PG than what else I could have said there.
Yeah. No, that's good.
Would you like me to read a couple super chats for you really quick?
Oh, let's do that
before they get buried.
Before we get down to the
let's
skills challenge stuff. Let's do that.
Yeah. So T.O. Wildcat says I call the sweep of the Blue Jays on Thursday. I was not on Thursday's show, but
smart man.
They're a bad baseball team.
Yep.
Pretty bad. And Zach Zent says, what is your D-backs Star Wars Photoshop's tier list? We were not there tonight.
We weren't.
Yeah.
But the Jock Peterson Yoda one.
The Yoda Peterson one was
has to
pretty
be
good.
Yeah, it has to be up there at the top for sure. That one was pretty
I heard
good.
there's a pretty bad Kevin Newman C-3PO.
Kevin Newman strikes me as a C-3PO. That's actually a pretty solid, astute assessment, I feel like, of him as a person. But let's get back to the future skills showcase challenge, because as fun as it was, as exciting as I thought it was, it really needs a little bit of revamping, Jesse. They had 3 rounds. The competitors have 8 swings to tally points by landing baseballs onto these big targets that are laid out in the outfield as well as on the infield. And that's really where once I saw the bunting scoring, I was like, what are we doing here? It was like 8 points to hit it out to the outfield in the corners. It was 4 points to hit it more like right center field, left center field. And then the bunting. There's the bunting. The bunting was, 24 points if you got it in the middle of the bunting circle?
Yeah.
This was a great idea. It just needs, I think, a little bit of some thought put behind the scoring, because essentially that first round, you were an idiot if you weren't bunting. You were an idiot. I did love the pyrotechnics, though.
There was zero purpose not to bunt.
You would absolutely bunt. Yeah, it was worth. I mean, even
Geraldo Perdomo might run away with this competition.
Yeah. See, once they perfect this, I do want this rolled out, because I thought this was a lot of fun. They when you hit to the outfield points, they set off smoke.
Yeah, they did have
the
effects nailed
bunted.
down. Yeah.
You got some nice sparks coming up. It was a great
production value there
through the roof.
Everything else,
a little confusing. They didn't really explain that there would be 3 rounds. I don't feel like beforehand, and then
they might have. It's just it's so echoey and loud and obnoxious, and my brain is just gonna melt when I'm in that ballpark because I just can't process all of these sounds that I'm hearing. The round 1 was definitely for me where tweaks pretty clearly need to be made. I agree with everything you said. Round 2 was like a call your shot thing where you try to hit the ball into various portions of the outfield. I thought that was pretty interesting, just evaluating guys being able to hit the ball in different directions. I thought that was pretty cool and seemed to be reasonably well executed. And then the final round, they did kind of like an adjusted home run derby, swing for the fences sort of a deal, where you actually got more points for an opposite field home run than you got for a home run to center field or to the pole side. So I thought that was also kind of interesting, because in the home run derby, everyone sort of knows that you should just try to pull everything because that's just going to be the easiest way to go on a run hitting homers.
Right.
But if you kind of add that nuance to the scoring system, it makes it a little more interesting. So it's a good concept overall, and I would love to see something like this implemented in the majors at some point.
Yes,
I would love
absolutely.
to see the big league all-stars doing this, but understandably MLB wants to kind of experiment on the youngsters first,
and they need to.
And yes,
they absolutely need to. They definitely need to iron this out. The round 3 is basically an adjusted home run derby. Would you like to see something like this one day in conjunction with the home run derby? Because I know some people have said that they've kind of grown bored with the derby. I have not. I think
it's cool.
It's
the
what I'm
format is so much better than it used to be.
Right, and it's
so much better.
It's honestly what I'm looking forward to most this weekend is attending the home run derby. However, we don't know if they're going to continue to make changes because they have made format changes, like you said, Jacob, to try to make it better. And maybe I could see one day this being something that they implement into part of the home run derby, perhaps. I don't know. I would like the
I'd
first
be okay
round
with the golden balls. Like
Okay.
if at the end, if you do the golden balls where there's like different points for if you go opposite field with like the golden ball, I'd be okay with that.
Okay, but you wouldn't want to see like a round 1 like this where it's a bunting challenge and then round 3 leads to the home run derby.
I'm here to see guys hit balls 500 feet.
I get it. I get it. You red-blooded American. I love you for it.
I feel like a lot of home run hitters wouldn't change their approach, even if opposite field homers were worth more, because some guys are can just get so locked in hitting pull side homers that it's kind of hard to hit an opposite field homer, frankly, and it depends on the location of the pitch too.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if a golden ball thing would work because that actually would put a lot of pressure on the pitcher to put it, probably on like the outside
Pick
part
a better
of the
so
plate.
you can hit it out. Yeah.
Yeah,
Don't bring your dad to this one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're
Can
gonna
we
need
all
someone with
agree
a
we're
weak command.
absolutely cheering against Pete Alonso on Monday?
Oh, God, yes. God, yes. I might even boo him.
Yeah.
Might be the first time I've ever booed somebody at a home run derby. I don't know. But what I am also very excited about is showing off our vlog that we have from today, because there was a lot of fun to be had. We went out and checked out the entire All-Star Village, and like I said, it is a village. We rode a Ferris wheel. We didn't even see inside of Choctaw Stadium yet. That's tomorrow. We have so much still to explore. But I will say this, Jesse. I did have one thing that pissed me off today. I have one thing that I might even, if I had my Shady Rays with me, I might even throw some shade right now. And that is, Jesse, that despite me searching far and wide, there was nothing of Ketel Marte to be found anywhere.
Really?
In fact, anytime I came across any Arizona Diamondbacks graphic of any kind,
This is insane.
any kind of picture, any kind of image, it was Corbin Carroll.
Really?
It's like that the pictures got printed before the season and they just assumed Corbin Carroll was going to be our all-star that much. And I think the thing that makes me mad is we checked out the MLB Life section, which was really cool.
Yeah.
It had a lot of cool ball players are into. Ketel Marte has a tremendous amount of swag, more swag than I have seen from most baseball players. I would put him up there as one of the, just an incredibly cool guy that dresses cool, has a lot of just swag to him. That's the only word I can think to describe it, right? And they had all of these big images of the All-Stars, dressed really cool, coming in on game day in their outfits. And I just felt like it was a big miss to not have Ketel Marte. That's the point of the All-Star. And being an All-Star, you should be included all of this. You should be looking up at the pictures, and you should see, hey, there's Ketel. That guy's from the Diamondbacks, right? That guy set a record in the playoffs, for a hit streak. Come on, man, show the man some respect. Having Corbin Carroll as all the Diamondbacks images seems disrespectful.
My question is, did you notice this with other teams too? Did other teams have guys?
It's a pretty heavy focus on Shohei most of the most.
I mean, it was
a
a lot of focus on there wasn't a lot of love given to the Baltimore Orioles young players and stuff.
Okay.
It was Vladimir Guerrero. It was Juan Soto. It was
a lot of Julio Rodriguez, which was interesting.
I was gonna say Julio would be the main.
I talked to Derek about this as we were walking around, and I said I'd be really curious to know if they had stuff pre-printed before the year so that they'd be fully ready to construct. And like you just print out stars, and like nobody's going to guess that Corbin Carroll is coming off the Rookie of the Year and hitting .213 with 5 homers.
That's true, but also if that's the case, then I don't know. Like Major League Baseball should be smart enough to know that sophomore slumps do happen. Like guys get hurt or
that's why it's a crazy theory, but it seems correct with the frequency of the images for the Diamondbacks.
There was 3 Corbin Carroll giant-sized posters.
I mean giant, like on the side of
you'll
a
see
thing
in the vlog. There's literally a full light tower Corbin Carroll.
Wow.
It didn't make any sense because he's just not. I mean, again, it would be fine if we saw images of Cattell. It would be fine if we saw stuff like. I went around looking we went and saw like memorabilia auction stuff, and obviously they had a lot of Texas Rangers stuff from the World Series last year.
Sure.
But no Diamondback stuff. Nothing. Not a baseball card, not a jersey, not anything. And that seems wild considering this was the team that was just in the World Series last year, right? Yeah. But then it extended beyond, and we kind of walked around. And I will say, as someone that covers this team, as someone that's a fan of this team, that's probably the one thing that I found to be most disappointing today, especially with Cattell. Like, we tend to gravitate towards new players as much as possible. We get excited about them, especially when it's someone like Yilber Diaz, who we can kind of be like, yes, we feel like this guy's the real deal. Like, we want to start creating nicknames. We want to start making graphics. We want to start making funny memes. You know, the MLB should be more excited about, like, incorporating someone like Cattell into this group of superstars, this group of all-stars, considering that the man is such a fun, charismatic player that, again, has all the style in the world and is a very exciting player that you would want to, include in all of this. It just, again, that's frustrating, but that's fine. I don't care.
I have to ask, were there any, and I guess I'll see this for myself tomorrow, but were there like Torrey life-size portraits anywhere?
Oh, no.
Torrey
okay. We did see a Torrey jersey.
Okay.
In the stadium at the custom jersey thing, they had a Torrey jersey.
They had a Torrey National League All-Star jersey.
It was a really cool revolving jersey thing.
Yeah. Yeah, they had. It was like almost like a laundromat thing.
Yeah, like one of those
like
things that goes around. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, okay.
But there was
you got another super chat if you want me to read it.
Yes, please.
Kevin Haskey says, Jesse, don't drink that Texas water. Stay safe.
Don't do that. He needs to drink all the water he can get. The man doesn't sleep as it is, but we are going to go get some sleep now. I think it's time for us to wrap because we have had a very long day, but it's been a very fun day. And it's just day one, so we will be back again tomorrow night. I think tomorrow night we will be coming to you from the Frisco Rough Riders Stadium out here in Texas.
Yeah, tomorrow's going to be a little crazy, Derek. We're going to, of course, recap the final game of the first half for the Diamondbacks. And we're also going to talk about what they do in the draft on the first day of the draft. That's happening tomorrow.
There's more.
And then we're also going to be hanging out with the Texas Rangers AA affiliate because they've got a lazy river at their ballpark.
There was not an ample amount of excitement in there.
I don't like that at all.
Let's have you retry that, Jesse.
I am going to be coming to you live, maybe drunk from a lazy river. And why is that important? How, in what way does that tie in to the Arizona Diamondbacks? Well, that is because the Frisco Rough Riders have the largest body of water in their outfield, and the Diamondbacks pool at Chase Field is second to this lazy river that they have out at their stadium. So we're going to go
scope out the competition a little bit. Sure.
That's what I do. I have to go out. Well, I got to figure out how are the Diamondbacks going to add a lazy river? Like, could you imagine a lazy river that then ends up in the pool?
That would be pretty.
We're making improvements to Chase Field. If we're gonna start the list, I'm gonna make sure that I include the lazy river.
Could you imagine like the off-season renovation is that they're like cutting out seats in order to make room for the river.
And I want Bernie's slide from Milwaukee too. That's a whole other story. I want the slide to dump into the pool.
Derek and I's mission out here is to report back to the Diamondbacks organization on things that they are missing with their ballpark, because we will be doing ballpark reviews here and in Chicago.
More natural light.
Sure.
Maybe
more natural
IV.
light for sure. We're going to compile a list here, and having a lazy river is certainly on that list.
Oh, God, yes. Well, he's going to do the real work, and I'm going to be drunk in a lazy river on $2 Twisted Teas. But regardless, no free ads. We thank you guys so much for being here tonight. We will be back tomorrow night with another fun night from here in Texas. We want to thank the Tipsy Oak here so much again
Yes.
for their hospitality, for allowing us to take over the show. We deserve that guy walking in the background and flipping us off. We absolutely did. This light's very bright, so I'm going to just give him a pass on that one. He's probably a Rangers fan anyway, and I mean, what do we have to say right now? Nothing. We're the second place team. We've been addressed that, by the way, a few times already today, so I'm not looking forward to seeing more Rangers fans tomorrow. But, of course, I do thank them for, once again, their wonderful hospitality out here in Texas. Of course, you can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Cap_Caveman with a K. Jesse is at Jesse N. Friedman. Of course, Jacob is at Jacob_Franklin4 because he is the fourth best Jacob Franklin in existence. But the number one Jacob Franklin in my heart. Of course, our show's at PHNX_DBacks, but all roads do lead to at PHNX_sports on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We thank you guys so much for stopping by. We will see you tomorrow night. Hopefully you guys come back again. And until then, have a wonderful evening. Have a wonderful Sunday. And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it's kind of a lot of fun when you're playing the Blue Jays.
We all silly like the mayor.